welcome to you all. Am I audible, Jagdish?
Yes.
Jagdish,
Yes.
am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. So, warm welcome to you all for yet another Saturday session of the Law Speak Group. It's my privilege and pleasure to introduce to you all today's guest speaker, Mr. Chandrakant Karode. Mr. Karode, a chartered accountant, has been my senior colleague for many years when we were both working in the Mahindra Group. Mr. Karode joined M&M way back in the 80s and held various positions in the automotive and tractor businesses before moving to the group internal audit, from where he retired as vice president some 5 years back. Mr. Karode has been pursuing Brahma Vidya while he was in service. And I recall just before his retirement, when we were casually chatting about his future plans, he told me that he is pursuing the advanced course, and after completion, he will teach Brahma Vidya to seekers and students. And over the last few years, he has done precisely that. And that's how today he is amongst us all. Now, the topic of Brahma Vidya is both traditional as well as contemporary. It's traditional because it's based on the ancient knowledge of yoga, and contemporary because of the need for increasing our immunity given the conditions caused by this pandemic. And Mr. Karode is the ideal person for this topic because he has been both a hands-on practitioner as well as a qualified teacher of Brahma Vidya. So without further ado, I present to you Mr. Karode. Karode sahib, the stage is all yours and we are all ears.
Thank you. Well, Vivek, thank you for your kind words. And I'm grateful to all of you for giving me this opportunity to address this august gathering of professionals on the subject of Brahma Vidya. So today I will take you through the whole, information about Brahma Vidya, what Brahma Vidya is, how it is really beneficial to us in our day-to-day life. What is the history of Brahma Vidya? What is the pattern of conducting this, various courses of Brahma Vidya by which one can acquire the knowledge of Brahma Vidya? And I'll also talk about what is the work that is being done by Brahma Vidya Sadhak Sangh to, spread this knowledge of Brahma Vidya. So this will take me about 45-50 minutes to cover all these topics. So before I start telling you what is Brahma Vidya, let me ask one very important question. What is the highest aspiration that a person has in his life? Or let's say, what are the highest aspirations which a person has in his life? Any one of you can unmute yourself and tell me.
I would say it is liberation.
It is a
liberation from the cycle of birth and death. This for me is the highest aspiration.
Okay, what else? Okay.
Total abundance in every form, whether it is abundance of peace, abundance of love, abundance of joy in life, which is through the various things that we enjoy in life.
Yeah.
Good physical health and mental health.
Right. I think you touch it very almost correctly. In a normal way, as you think of yourself, what you would like to aspire for. A, I would like to be successful in whatever I am pursuing in my life. And B, equally importantly, I would like to remain healthy throughout my life. These are the two highest aspirations we can say in our normal day-to-day life. Now, all of us would like to be successful in whatever I'm pursuing. I may be a businessman, then I would like to see that my business grows multifold. I get recognition as a successful businessman. If I'm a professional, I would like to see that my professional practice goes multifold. I have a large clientele with me. If I'm in a corporate world, I would like to see that I keep climbing the corporate hierarchy and go on occupying higher and higher positions. Even if I'm a student, I would like to see that I excel in all the academic pursuit that I'm, academic courses that I'm pursuing. So all of us would like to be successful in whatever I want to achieve in my life. And with that goal in our mind, we always work very hard. We really put in our, best efforts to see that I become successful in whatever goal that I've set for myself. And at the same time, I would like to see that I remain healthy throughout my life so that I can really enjoy the fruits of my hard labor. If I become a very successful businessman, but if I don't take care of my health, and if I'm really a wealthy person, but if I'm not sound in my health, what is the use of that wealth? I cannot enjoy the fruits of my hard labor. So obviously, I would like to see that I remain healthy throughout my life. So all of us have these two, I can say, basic, pursuits in our life. But today, all of us know that life has become full of stress and tension. Everywhere, all of us are really living life throughout the day. There is some kind of stress or the other. There is a workload. Workload has gone up very tremendously in the offices. The people who are in business, etc., they know that what are the competitive forces they are going to fight day in and day out. People like us who stay in big cities, there is so much stress and tension even in travel, commuting from home to office and back. Forget the current scenario, but I'm saying pre-March. There's the stress even within our family. When I say within our family, I don't mean anything discord between the husband and wife. But what I mean is today, even the women have their own, career goals, their career aspirations. So both husband and wife are working. They have their career aspirations. At the same time, they have to take care of their family. They have to take care of children, in-laws, maybe aged parents. Some of them maybe even not keeping good health. So it really becomes a very extremely difficult balancing act to manage all these things. So obviously it creates its own stress and tension. And when we live in this kind of environment, we are always, because we are under stress and tension, we are not really able to enjoy or have peaceful state of mind. And that could actually become a cause for different ailments and diseases in our body. At the same time, we can't run away from this scenario. We have to still pursue our goals in this, because I have no control over the external environment really. But still I have to pursue my goals in my life. So we would like to see that how I manage this, environment, at the same time pursue my goals. I see that I remain healthy throughout my life. So here really Brahma Vidya teaching come to our help to a great extent. By following the practices that we learn in Brahma Vidya courses, we are able to remain healthy at physical level. We are able to remain healthy at mental level. We are always in a peaceful state of mind. So obviously that helps us to focus all our energies onto the goals that we have set for ourselves. So this is how Brahma Vidya really helps us. Now we'll try to understand how it really helps us in our day-to-day life. So first let us understand what is Brahma Vidya. Brahma Vidya is a very ancient science of yoga and philosophy. And being a very ancient science of yoga and philosophy, it has that Sanskritized name, Brahma Vidya. Actually, it is a composition of, we can say, two words, Brahma and Vidya. Brahma means the great power, the cosmic energy or the cosmic power, which is there everywhere in this cosmos. And Vidya means knowledge, or the teaching of which, by the knowing the knowledge about Brahma or about the cosmic energy. So that's why it is called Brahma Vidya. The Brahma Vidya philosophy says that there is a spark of divinity within each one of us. We are all divine potential persons. And with the help of that divine power, really we can achieve whatever we want to achieve in our life. Really nothing is impossible for a person to achieve in his life. We can fight all the difficulties, all the problems, all the challenges in our life by taking the help of that divine spark within us, that divine power within us. And Brahma Vidya not only says this, but it shows definite methods by which we can seek the help of that divine power, we can seek the help of that divine spark within us, and we can improve our life. we can live our life in a better and better way. So obviously the question that will come in your mind is, so what are the methods that we learn in Brahma Vidya? Now, before I come to that, let me clarify one important thing. As I said, Brahma Vidya is a very ancient science, so obviously it has that Sanskritized name. But Brahma Vidya has nothing to do with any religion. It has nothing to do with any religion, nothing to do with any creed, sect, etc. It is just, we can say, it's a philosophy of life. That's all. So now, what are the methods that Brahma Vidya shows us, or we learn in Brahma Vidya, which helps us to improve our life? Before I come to the discussion about the methods, again, I would like to put a question to you people as to what are the two most important things in our life without which we cannot live. They're absolutely essential. Any one of you can unmute yourself and tell me.
Breath.
And
Water. Food.
anything else? Okay, I think you are partially correct. Breath is, of course, right. But I won't say, or I won't agree with water, because somebody would have said, as well said, that food is important. But I can live without food. I mean, many of us observe fast for various purposes. Some people observe for religious purposes. Some people observe for maybe, social causes or political causes and so on. So we can live without food. I can live without water. If I am traveling in some remote place and I don't have a bottle of water with me, I can still manage to live for a few hours. But can I live without breath? I cannot. And similarly, can I live without thoughts? I cannot. So breath and the thoughts are the two most important fundamental aspects of my life without which I cannot live. So if that is the case, let us try to understand more about our breath and more about our thoughts. So let us start with breath. As I said, breath is a very fundamental to our very existence. I cannot live without breath even for 2 minutes, or even try to hold the breath for 2 minutes. You will be literally gasping for, inhaling once again. So if it is so fundamental to our existence, I must know how to breathe effectively, how to breathe correctly. But actually, all of us take this for granted. All of us think that it's a natural thing which is just taking place. So we just take it for granted. In fact, many times we hear people saying, "Oh, I'm so busy, I don't have even time to breathe." But well, jokes apart. But if that is so fundamental, I must know how to breathe correctly, how to breathe effectively. What happens is that everybody around us thinks that it is a natural process which is taking place right from the time we were born. So there is nothing to learn about breath or nothing to teach about breath. What is there to teach about breath? What is there to learn about breath? I've been breathing right from the time I was born. I'll continue to breathe hereafter also. So what is there to learn? What is there to teach about breathing? Now, I may have been breathing right from the time I was born till now, but that does not necessarily mean that my breathing is correct or that my breathing is effective. And this is where Brahma Vidya shows us the way, that how to make our breath more effective, how to make our breath more deeper, more fuller. Now, all of us have learned in our school days that when we take a breath, when we inhale air and oxygen. The oxygen goes into our lungs. The blood gets purified in the lungs. It flows back into the heart. Heart pumps it throughout the body. And through our exhalation, carbon dioxide gets discharged. So all of us have learned this in our school days. But when we inhale, we not only inhale air and oxygen, but we inhale one more important thing, and it is called prana energy, the life force. And our body needs a lot of energy for carrying out its bodily function. We can compare our body with like a factory, for example. Now, all of us know in a factory there are so many shops, so many machines are in every shop. Now, all these machines, to run the machines, we need electric power. So we need electrical energy. So similarly, we can say our body is like a factory having multiple activities are going on simultaneously. Our respiration system, blood circulation system, digestive system, our different organs in the body, our brain, our heart, our lungs, our kidneys, and so on. So all these organs, all these systems in the body which are operating constantly, they need a lot of energy. I need energy even for my bodily functions, even for my walking, talking, etc. So for all that purpose, I need a lot of energy. And that energy comes from this prana energy. This prana energy has two aspects. One is called positive aspect, another is called negative aspect. When I say negative, there is nothing negative about it. It is just there are two opposite forces. Like all the natural forces have two elements, like electrical energy, for example. We always say there's a positive current and negative current. Even in magnet, there are opposite forces. So similarly, prana energy also has two aspects, positive and negative. The more important point that we need to understand about prana energy is that there has to be balance of both these aspects of prana energy within our body. In case there is an imbalance in our body of these two aspects of prana energy in our body, that becomes a cause for different ailments and diseases. So therefore, we have to ensure that these two elements of prana energy remain balanced in my body. And this is where all these breathing exercises that we learn in the course of Brahma Vidya help us. They help us to not only make our breath more deeper, more fuller, more stronger, they also help us to maintain this balance of prana energy in our body. And that helps us to gradually get over all the ailments or diseases from the body. We remain in a healthy state at physical level. So in Brahma Vidya, we learn something like 8 breathing exercises. So the practice of these breathing exercises help us to remain healthy at physical level, because that is how, as I said, it helps us to maintain balance of prana energy. It makes our breath more deeper, more fuller. Now, to understand this existence of prana energy, you might wonder, but how do I know? There is a simple way to understand this prana energy that exists within each one of us. I will show you one simple exercise. Maybe even you can try after you see what I am doing. Just you have to sit in a very comfortable and relaxed manner. Right now I'm standing, but I will do it in a relaxed manner. So just take both the hands, keep the all the 5 fingers separate. Don't touch, they should not be touching each other. Just keep them loose and very relaxed manner. Just bring them in front of your chest, and each corresponding figure should be, closer to the corresponding finger, but they should not be touching. Just bring them very, very close and hold them like this. Don't hold them far away from the chest. Hold them very close to the chest, and completely in a relaxed manner, just keep them very close to each other, and just observe what you experience when you hold it for maybe a few seconds or half a minute or something. So maybe some of you can try. Maybe some of you can keep your videos on so that I can also see. Just bring both the hands in front of your chest and keep the fingers very close to each other, but don't touch them. And just in an absolutely relaxed manner, both at physically, mentally, just be absolutely in a relaxed manner, and just try to bring them very, very close. Try to take them a bit away, maybe half a centimeter. Again, try to bring them close to each other. Maybe a few millimeters gap should be there. Did you experience something? Can somebody tell me? Unmute yourself and tell me. What did you experience?
A tingling sensation.
Sorry?
A tingling sensation.
Yes. Anybody else?
Some energy flowing.
Energy?
Flowing through.
Yes, you are right. So that shows, that is the way we can understand the prana energy is really operating within us. Now, some of you may not have experienced it right now. Don't worry. The prana energy is not only within these 2%, it is there within each one of us. Maybe you are right now not completely relaxed. So try at some different point of time. This is just to tell you make the point clear that how to understand the prana energy really operates within us. Now as I've been saying that all these practices of breathing exercises help us to make our breath more deeper, more fuller, make it more stronger. What actually happens is from the childhood as we start growing into adulthood, because of changed lifestyle, sedentary life, etc., our breath starts becoming very shallow and we don't breathe adequately as much as we should be. Now to understand how the breathing should be really, if you observe a newly born tiny baby, that is the correct way of understanding what is the correct breathing or effective breathing. If you observe that tiny baby, you'll find when the baby is sleeping, you'll find the chest and the bottom of the child is going up and down, up and down. That means the child is using its lung capacity effectively. But because as we grow into adulthood, because we are not paid attention to the breath over the years, because of changed lifestyle, sedentary life, our breath becomes shallow and we don't really use our lung capacity to the fullest extent. And this is where the practice of breathing exercises help us to increase the utilization of our lung capacity. In fact, scientifically it has been established that on an average, an adult only uses 10% of his lung capacity. To that extent, we are ignorant or we pay no attention to our breath. So by practicing these breathing exercises, not only it helps us to make our breath more stronger, more effective, it helps us to remain physically healthy at the physical level. It helps us to remain always energetic, fresh. We are always fresh throughout the day. We are always energetic throughout the day. Because a lot of energy is flowing into our body because of our effective breathing. It helps us to increase our immunity system. And today we know the importance of improving immunity system given the current prevailing situation. So this is what happens by practicing these breathing exercises that are taught in the course of Brahma Vidya. Coming to the second aspect of our life, that is our thoughts. Thoughts are as important as our breath is. Even if you are sitting at home doing nothing, you'll find that some thoughts are always passing through your mind. So our mind is constantly working. Innumerable thoughts keep passing through our mind throughout the day, and we don't even realize them, or we don't really pay attention to our thoughts. But they are as important as our breath is because they also have as much impact on our physical health, mental health. In fact, we can say on our overall life, they have great impact. In fact, there's a saying in English that as you think, so you become. And yet we don't pay attention to our thoughts. If you really analyze, our thoughts are of two types, positive thoughts as well as negative thoughts. Now, positive thoughts, of course, like thoughts of joy, excitement, happiness, will always have positive impact on our mind, on our body, etc. And same way, negative thoughts of worry, thoughts of fear, anger, will have adverse impact on our life, our body, our mind, etc. And just to understand how our thoughts are effective and how quickly they affect our body and mind, just think, if you like sweets, any sweet, suppose somebody says I like jalebi, the moment thought of jalebi comes, the glands will start secreting saliva. And similarly, if a thought of anger, fear comes in, you'll find people are trembling out of fear or out of anger. So that is the kind of impact our thoughts have on our entire life. What happens is, as we start growing from being a baby into childhood into adulthood, the thoughts that ideas that we hear from the people around us, our elders, our parents, grandparents, siblings, friends, relatives, neighbors, whatever thought they are talking, whatever we hear, whatever we see, whatever we listen, they all start getting absorbed in our mind unknowingly because we are not even aware of them. So all kinds of thoughts, good thoughts, bad thoughts, positive thoughts, negative thoughts, everything gets absorbed in our mind. And we start actually, that those thoughts start influencing our life. So And many of these ideas are ideas of negation. So they adversely affect us. Any negative thoughts which come to your mind obviously going to adversely affect me. In fact, let's just try to understand one example with the help of one example. Suppose one of our family members normally comes home by 9 o'clock from his office or her office. On a particular day, the person has not returned home even till 11:30, 11:45. Obviously, you try to reach the person on the mobile phone. You find the mobile is not reachable, it is switched off. We really don't know where the person is, whether the person is in the office, whether he's stuck up in the traffic, anywhere on the road or on the train. We have no clue. And finally, at 12:15 or something, the person arrives at. Just think what kind of thoughts would have gone through your mind. So many negative ideas will first crop up in your mind. You will not think maybe the person is in some important conference call, maybe going on with his foreign clients, so maybe that's why he has switched off his mobile phone. Or maybe there is some problem, traffic somewhere on the road streets, or maybe there is a dislocation in the train services. Those thoughts will not come. First, negative ideas will come. So this is how, moment that similar event happened, the negative ideas will flash in our mind in a matter of seconds. So as I said, the thoughts are both positive thoughts, negative thoughts, and both adversely affect our entire life. Because as I said, as you think, so you become. And yet we don't pay attention to our thoughts, just as we don't pay attention to our breath. And because I don't pay attention to my thoughts, I really don't monitor. I don't even track what kind of thoughts are passing through my mind. But since now we know that these thoughts are so important, that they have so much great impact on my life, I have to start improving my thoughts. I have to start disciplining my mind. I have to monitor or I have to track what kind of thoughts are passing through my mind. So in order to discipline our mind, in Brahma Vidya, we learn certain meditation techniques. So as to improve our thoughts, so as to get over the ideas of negation, get over the negative thoughts from our mind and make our mind more stronger. The moment we use the word meditation, people normally get put off. They think that this is not something for me. This is something that I'll think in my old age. I'm too young to think about meditation. But actually meditation is essential for each and every person in his life. In Brahma Vidya, we call them as simple mental exercises. So just as to improve breathing, we learn certain breathing exercises to improve our mind, make our mind stronger, to make it more disciplined. We learn these mental exercises. These are the simple mental exercises by practicing of which I'm able to get over the negative ideas from my mind. My mind becomes stronger. And I'm always able to remain in a peaceful state of mind. My mind is always balanced. I will not allow my mind to be quickly overwhelmed by even the adverse situation if I have to face. In a very balanced way, I know how to handle the situation. So I'll be always in a peaceful state of mind. I'll be always relaxed as far as my mind is concerned. Emotionally, I'll be able to balance myself properly. So this is what happens by learning these meditation techniques in Brahma Vidya. So breath and thoughts are the two important aspects of our life. This is what Brahma Vidya teachings tell us. And yet we don't pay attention to them for the simple reason that A, they are available to us in abundance. They are available to us free of cost. And they are available to us without any efforts. So because of which, I really don't pay attention. I don't have to take any effort. I don't have to pay for them. And they are available in abundance. So we don't pay attention. But if both these aspects are going to have so much impact on my life, then we have to learn how to breathe correctly, how to think effectively, so that my life improves on an overall basis. Because these are the two fundamental aspects of my life. Unfortunately, what happens is right from the time we are a child and we start growing into adulthood, we are taught innumerable things by our parents, right from how to talk, how to walk, how to read, how to write, how to eat, and so on and so forth. but nobody or nowhere we are taught how to breathe effectively, how to think effectively. And this is what Brahma Vidya teaching help us to learn. How to breathe effectively, how to think effectively, and how to make these two pillars of our life very strong. Because the entire edifice of my life is dependent on these two pillars. If they are not strong, my life cannot be, proper. My life cannot be, I cannot really enjoy my life. I really cannot achieve whatever I want to achieve in my life. So this is the whole focus of Brahma Vidya teaching, that how to make our life better and better by practicing the teachings of Brahma Vidya. Having said this, I must make it very important point clear that Brahma Vidya is not like a medicine. So there are no specific breathing exercises or meditation techniques if I am suffering from a particular ailment or if I am suffering from another type of ailment. Whether I am a healthy person, whether I am having any ailment, whether I am having another type of ailment, irrespective of that, the breathing exercises and meditation techniques are the same for everybody. But the benefit will come to each person as per the need of his body or his mind, as the case may be. So the techniques of uniform, because they address the very fundamental aspects of our life. So by improving them, we can say that breathing exercises is like cleansing the body from inside. And meditation techniques help us to cleanse our mind from inside. So by cleansing this, the two aspects are addressed. And that's why the techniques are common for everybody. They are not any specific, if I'm having some, let's say, diabetes, that means I should practice this. Or if I'm having some hypertension, I should practice something else. No. Everybody has to practice the same breathing exercises, same meditation techniques. A lot of people have benefited by practicing the teachings of Brahma Vidya. There are innumerable examples of people who have overcome so many physical ailments, be it hypertension, be it blood pressure, be it some diabetes, or some knee problem, or spondylosis, and so on. Or people suffering from mental disorders like depression. They have been able to come out of it, and they're able to really live their life in a very beautiful way now. There are so many examples that are available on our website www.brahmavidya.net, where there's a separate section called testimonials, where you'll find so many examples of the students who have actually got benefit by practicing these techniques. They are given in that section. Also, there are for download, there's a separate portion called download, where you'll find our annual magazine called Pradnya. This is the kind of magazine that is published every year, souvenir, which also contains the experiences of the students. So the magazine issues are also available for download. So this is about Brahma Vidya and how Brahma Vidya really helps us in our day-to-day life. Now I'll briefly touch upon what is the origin of this science. What is the origin of this philosophy of Brahma Vidya? As I said, it's a very ancient science of yoga and philosophy. The historical background, as it is known, is something like 1200 or 1300 years back. We had that famous university in India called Nalanda University. It was an institution of great repute, known worldwide at that time. And a lot of students used to come and learn there. There was one department called Department of Yoga and Philosophy. And one Guru Padma Sambhav was the head of that department. He was a man with a great foresight, with a great amount of knowledge. With his foresight, he had seen the likely destruction of Nalanda University by foreign invaders. So he decided to migrate out of Nalanda University, and he migrated along with some of his disciples to Tibet. And he set up his monastery, or what we call as an ashram, there. And he started imparting this knowledge of Brahma Vidya over there. Now, over the last 1200, 1300 years, this knowledge is being passed on from generation after generation after generation through this teacher pupil kind of concept, what we call in India as Guru Shishya Parampara. So that is how the knowledge has been passed on over the last so many centuries. Now, still the question will be, okay, if it has gone to Tibet, how did it come to India? That journey is equally fascinating. Somewhere at the beginning of last century, or you can say actually the end of 19th century, one person was born in England. His name was Edwin John Dingle. He grew to become a professional journalist, and he found a job in Singapore, and he went to Singapore and joined Straits Times, which is a well-known newspaper over there. When he was working there, he saw that there was one person in the office who was very highly respected by everybody, all his colleagues. So he tried to find out why everybody is so much respectful toward that person. He was very highly knowledgeable about the science of Brahma Vidya. So he also became very curious, and he said, no, I want to learn from you all this. So he learned these Brahma Vidya techniques from him. But he was so curious, saying, no, I want to still learn more. So that person finally told him that beyond this, I cannot teach you. If you want to really learn more, you have to travel all the way to Tibet. This person was so much determined that he said, no, I'll go to Tibet. So he traveled to Tibet, and I'm talking of this is somewhere around 1905, 1906. So more than 100 years back, 115 years back. You can imagine what kind of transport facilities would have been available that time. But he traveled all the way to Tibet. Majority of the travel was by foot. And he reached one monastery there. And he met one great Tibetan master there. And he told him that I come here to learn about Brahma Vidya. Will you admit me as take me as your disciple? And that great master said, yes, why not? So he joined that monastery. He learned the entire science of Brahma Vidya from that great Tibetan master. And when his teaching was over, that great master told him that, okay, now you again go back to your external world and try to spread this knowledge. You become a teacher and try to spread this knowledge. That person said, no, I'm not, Mr. Dingle said, no, I'm not cut out for that. I came here because I was curious to learn for myself. But I don't think when I go back to the external world, I'll become a teacher there. I don't think that is mainly for my own curiosity. He said, no, one day you will become a teacher. Finally leaves Tibet. He returns to Singapore. He again joins the Straits Times. After some time, he leaves Straits Times. He goes into China. He settles in Shanghai. He starts his business empire. He builds a business empire over the next 20, 25 years. He becomes a big businessman. He used to travel all around the globe as a part of his business activities. But one fine day, he simply sells off his business and he goes and settles into California in the United States. Although he was a Britisher by birth, he chose to settle in California. And he set up his institution there, he called it as the Institute of Mental Physics. And although his name was Edwin John Dingle, but because in Tibet he was called out of affection as Dingle Mi, maybe that Mi was out of affection, he chose to retain that name only. So later on his disciples started calling me as Guru Dingle Mi. So now he is known as Guru Dingle Mi, although his original name was Edwin John Dingle. So he started this institution in California in the year 1927. And till the time he left for his heavenly abode in the year 1972, for almost 45 years, he imparted this knowledge of Brahma Vidya to almost 220,000 students in America, North America, South America, Europe and all that. Still the story remains incomplete as to how did this still knowledge come to India, because he was Britisher settled in California teaching in that part of the world, Western world. There was one person named as Mr. K.S. Ramanathan from Mumbai. Somewhere in the 60s, he read an article in the Times of India about this Institute of Mental Physics and what knowledge they are imparting through that institute. He was very much fascinated. He was a small businessman having small business in Tardev area. So he was fascinated by reading this article, and he, in 60s there was no means of communication as they are available today. So he wrote a letter to Guru Dinglemi saying that I read an article in newspaper here, and I am really delighted, and I would like to learn this particular science. So how do I do it? Because I'm in India and I don't have that kind of financial strength to travel to the USA and learn this. So he got an answer saying that he got a reply saying that no problem, you can learn through correspondence. So Mr. K.S. Ramanathan learned this entire course of Brahma Vidya through correspondence. And finally, in the year 1977, he started teaching this Brahma Vidya by starting classes in all over different parts of Mumbai, like in Goregaon, Mulund, Matunga, Chembur, Dombivli, and so on. Finally, he got a chance to go to United States in the year 1985, and he could visit that institution. But unfortunately, before that only, his Guru Dinglemi was no more. He had left for his heavenly abode in the year 1972 itself. So it's a very fascinating story that Mr. K.S. Ramanathan learned this entire science only through correspondence, never had a chance to even meet his Guru, even face to face. Because in those days, even getting a telephone call was a difficult thing, forget video. But he learned, not only learned, he started imparting that knowledge. So Guru Dinglemi had told his disciples there that I am really impressed by this student who is learning, the only student from India who is learning through correspondence. Diligently he is learning level after level after level. He is having no means to come here, and so I have not met him, he has not met me. But if at all he comes here, and if I am not there by then, he had left some gift articles to be gifted to him in appreciation for the devotion with which he was learning this science. So when finally he reached there in 1985, he could visit that institution in 1985, he was felicitated by his disciples there for the work that he was doing in India by learning entirely through correspondence without meeting his Guru. So one of his students in Mulund batch was one Mr. Jayant Divekar. As he started learning from Mr. K.S. Ramanathan, he also was very much fascinated by this science, and he said, but this all we are learning in English, and we are in Maharashtra where the major people know only Marathi. So shall we translate English into Marathi? And the entire literature runs into maybe 1,500, 1,600 pages. And that is how the teaching in Marathi started. Because initially the teaching when Mr. K.S. Ramanathan learned, it was all in English. After he translated all this literature into Marathi, and then he took lead to start conducting classes in Marathi. So this is how, this is the historical debate, and finally why America it came back to India. Now just to give an idea as to what is the structure of Brahma Vidya courses, how it is that knowledge is imparted. Brahma Vidya knowledge is imparted for anybody above the age of 10 can learn Brahma Vidya. Below 10 we feel that children are too small to learn anything. However, for children between 10 and 18 there is a separate program that is called Children's Course. That course runs for only 7 weeks, that is 7 sessions of 1.5 hours, 1 session per week. They are also taught the same breathing exercises. They are also taught not exactly the same meditation technique, but they are in a different way. The meditation techniques are taught to them, because that is the age where we feel that is very important for children, because that is the time when they face a lot of competitive exams and a lot of stress they undergo. So they are able to manage that stress in a proper way by learning these breathing techniques of Brahma Vidya. Anybody above 18 years can join what we call as a basic course of Brahma Vidya. That course is the 22-week course spread over 22 weeks, but it is only 1 day in a week, 1.5 hour session. So we meet only once in a week, we learn something. Over the next 7 days we are supposed to practice at home. Again after 7 days we meet and we learn something more, and like that it goes on. After completing this basic course of Brahma Vidya of 22 weeks, if somebody is interested in learning, get more deeper insights into this, there is a course called Advanced Course. That advanced course is spread over 2 years. That is 104 weeks. But the pattern is same, 1.5 hour session, only once in a week. Whatever concept we learn in these 22 weeks are taught in a much deeper way in that advanced course. That's why it is such a prolonged course. Those who complete advanced course and want to learn something still more, that is, there is a third level called and a final level called as preceptor course, or in Marathi or in Hindi we call it as Pradipak course. That course also is spread for over 2 years effectively. It is 96 weeks. It is once in a week, but for 2 hours, not 1.5 hours. It is 2 hours once in a week, spread over 96 weeks. And after completing all these 3 levels, if somebody is interested in becoming a teacher of Brahma Vidya, then he is selected for becoming a teacher. There is a separate training program which is run, and he is put through that training program, which runs for about 2.5 years, and then the person becomes teacher. So this is how our pattern of teaching is. Now the classes were being conducted in the classroom kind of environment prior to pandemic. Now that is not possible. So we are finally going online from 1st of October. So all the classes will be started now from 1st of October, will be only on online basis. Now one question that might be in your mind that, okay, we have to learn these breathing exercises, we have to learn these meditation techniques, we have to practice them, but how much time I need to give for all this? As I said, everybody's life is very, we are really struggling for our time every day. Everybody is under tremendous, managing time becomes a challenge for everybody. Well, the minimum time that we say that one should spend is at least 20 minutes for practicing breathing exercises and 20 minutes for practicing meditation techniques. So effectively it is 40 minutes. Now you'll really understand that 40 minutes is not a very great amount of time that we are saying that you should spend. I will say that it is a kind of investment that you are making for yourself. Just 40 minutes. In a 24 hours, we have 1,440 minutes. So we have to just take out 40 minutes out of that, which is something what 40 minutes out of 1,440 would mean slightly less than 3% of your time. So 3% of your time every day we have to take out only for as an investment for ourselves. Investment to make our life better and better at physical level, mental level, and an overall basis. And maximum, that is up to you. I mean, if you really have to practice all the breathing exercises, we say it takes about something like 55 to 60 minutes. And similarly, if you have to practice all the meditation techniques every day, that will take almost the same time, 55 60 minutes every day. But that is up to each one of us liking, time, availability, choice, etc., etc. But minimum we should spend at least 20 minutes for breathing exercises, 20 minutes for meditation techniques.
Yeah, Chandrakant sir, just small interruption.
Yeah.
Would you be, giving us a taste of, what is one meditation, the breathing technique? Would you like?
Sorry.
Would you just show us one of the breathing techniques or something which we can do immediately?
See, actually, the breathing exercises are not, one has to understand them with a proper background, So it is not just some physical action. By my showing will not really make any sense. Okay, and meditation techniques, all of us know that you have to just, practice in a particular way. So there is a process by which, one has to learn this. So it is very difficult for me in this short session of, about 50, 60 minutes to demonstrate that, So this is the pattern of our, courses. Now, just to give you ideas to what Brahma Vidya Sadhak Sangh, which is the body which is spreading this knowledge of Brahma Vidya, what it is Brahma Vidya Sadhak Sangh doing to propagate this knowledge. Brahma Vidya Sadhak Sangh is a charitable trust. So there are trustees which are running these affairs of this trust. Mr. Jayant Divekar, to whom I referred earlier, is the chief trustee, and there are 9 other trustees. So together, all these 10 trustees run the affairs of this trust. The main and one simple objective of Brahma Vidya Sadhak Sangh is to propagate and to preach and teach the science of Brahma Vidya for the benefit of mankind. That's all. So with that objective, all our trustees, all our teachers, all our other volunteers who support teachers and the trustees work in a spirit of service. They do not get paid any remuneration whatsoever. The simple philosophy is that by learning Brahma Vidya, I have improved my life. So I should now see that others also benefit from this. So with that spirit of service, all of us work. So that is the basic philosophy of Brahma Vidya Charitable Trust. As of now, or till February, let's say, we were conducting the teaching through classroom kind of environment. We used to hire classrooms in schools and colleges all over Maharashtra, and that is how the teachers used to impart the knowledge. Since that is not possible, now we are going online. As of now, we have almost more than 250 plus teachers teaching Brahma Vidya all over Maharashtra, and some of the teachers have even been traveling outside Maharashtra like Madhya Pradesh, Goa, Karnataka, etc. Just to give you idea about Mr. Jayanta Divekar. Mr. Jayanta Divekar is IIT gold medalist. He also did his MBA from IIM Bangalore. He worked in the corporate world for almost 30 years. He worked in the big corporates like Tata's, Hindustan Lever, Aditya Birla Group. And he retired, or he resigned from one of the Aditya Birla Group companies, because at some point he felt that I need to give my entire time for spreading this knowledge. So at one point he decided, he just left his job, and now he's giving his entire time and efforts for spreading this knowledge. When he was in service, not only he learned Brahma Vidya, as I said earlier, he even translated from English into Marathi, spreading over almost 1,500 pages. When he had his job, holding senior positions in the corporate world, so which means traveling inside India, traveling outside India. With all that he managed, and he has been teaching even during his working time also. When he was holding his positions, in the evening he used to teach in Mumbai, Pune, etc. Now, of course, he has given his entire time for spreading this knowledge of Brahma Vidya. So this is how the Brahma Vidya Sadhak Sangh operates. So I have finished, whatever I wanted to talk about. Now, if you have any question, I'll be happy to answer your questions. In fact, if you would like to know more about Brahma Vidya, you can visit our website, as I said, www.brahmavidya.net, or you can go to YouTube and type in the search bar Brahma Vidya Sadhak Sangh, because that is the actual name of our charitable trust, Brahma Vidya Sadhak Sangh. It will take you to our YouTube channel, and you will see a lot of videos, not only of our trustees, of our senior teachers, but even of the students who have learned Brahma Vidya and how they have benefited. A lot of videos are available on the YouTube channel. So that will give you more insights as to how really Brahma Vidya helps people in improving their lives. And as I said, even on the website, you will find so many articles under the section testimonials, or if you can see the download of that annual or souvenir called Prajna, there is a separate download section there. So any questions? Anything more you would like to know about Brahma Vidya? You can unmute yourself and ask me.
There is some comment. It says, what are the actual benefits?
Yeah,
of
I'm just
learning-
reading that. Yeah, what are yeah, I'm just reading that only. Yeah, as I said, no, the actual benefits are one, as I said, because by practicing breathing exercises, my breath becomes more deeper, my breath becomes more fuller, my breath becomes, what shall I say, I'm able to inhale in a better way, I'm able to use my lung capacity in a much better way. That helps me to increase my immunity system. I'm able to balance the two aspects of prana energy within my body. So it helps me to remain healthy at physical level. Because the prana energy is the main driving force of my body. So by improving my breathing, I'm able to inhale more, not only air and oxygen, but also prana energy, which helps me to remain healthy at physical level. It helps me to always remain energetic, healthy. Even with your hectic schedule throughout the day, you'll find if you practice them methodically every day, you'll find that your energy level at 11 o'clock in the night also will be same as what your energy level at 6 o'clock in the morning, even after hectic day's work. So this is what happens at a physical level. And as I said, by practicing the different meditation techniques, it helps me to make my mind more balanced. I'm emotionally balanced. My mind becomes more stronger. I can handle any difficult situation in a much more effective way. So I'll be always in a peaceful state of mind. So once I remain healthy at physical level, once I'm able to remain balanced at mental and emotional level, obviously I will be able to enjoy my life. No, I'll be able to devote all my energies on the goal that I've set for myself. So Brahma Vidya never says that. In fact, we call it as a science of life. In fact, if you go to our website, the very first screen says Brahma Vidya is your key to health and success. So it helps you to remain healthy. It helps you to become successful. Because what is success? Whatever I want to achieve in my life, I am able to achieve. But I can achieve that only if I am able to focus all my attention, all my energy to that goal. If I get bogged down with my health problem, etc., then I will not be able to pay my attention to my goal that I have set for myself. No, so that's why we call it as a key to health and success. So I'm able to balance I'm able to manage my physical health. I'm able to balance my emotional or mental health, and that's how I'm able to remain in kind of, let it be any adversity. It helps me to overcome negativity. Today, for example, what is all happening around us? So much negativity around you. Open any TV channel, only negative things are being talked about. Whether we realize it or not, they somehow get absorbed in our mind. But by practicing these techniques that we learn in Brahma Vidya, our mind will not get influenced by all these events which are happening around us. It will always remain, because we know, as I said in the beginning, there is a spark of divinity within us. These techniques really help us to make use of that divine spark within us. So this is what the benefit that come to us. Well, I am sorry, I am not really able to comment about yoga because I never really learned yoga. So for me to make any comment as to what is the difference between the Brahma Vidya techniques and yoga practices, because you are saying that I've been experiencing the same thing from yoga practices. Well, that's good. All I'm saying is, but since I am not learning yoga, I'm not able to compare and make any specific comment about similarities or dissimilarities between yoga techniques and Brahma Vidya techniques. But yes, if you have been practicing yoga and you are getting, that's good. I mean, that is what ultimately all of us want in life, We want to remain healthy, we want to remain peaceful, we want to really enjoy our life in all the facets of our life. Okay, any other question, any other doubt?
Yeah, what are the centers in Mumbai?
Okay, then shall we,
Are there any centers in Mumbai?
sorry,
Are there any centers in Mumbai?
centers?
Yeah, where these classes are held?
Yeah. Prior to the onset of pandemic in March, as I said, our classes were conducted in a classroom kind of environment, and the classes were conducted all over Mumbai. In fact, you can say all over the Mumbai metropolitan region. That is from, let's say, Virar to Churchgate and Ambernath to VT, plus the entire Pune metropolitan region, Nasik, Aurangabad, Ratnagiri, Kolhapur, Solapur. I mean, you name the city in Maharashtra, and even smaller towns we were there. Plus outside Maharashtra like Indore, Goa, Belgaum, etc. And some occasionally we have been conducting this what kind of small camps in places like Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, etc. But now all that has come to a standstill. So now we are not able to conduct in the classroom kind of environment. So we are going online. So in fact, by going online now, we realize that we are actually accessible to many people, because now the physical distance is no more relevant.
Yeah.
So earlier, as you were asking where the classes were conducted, their centers were all over Mumbai, but then a person in Borivali will not travel to even Kandivali. He will prefer to have something very close to his place. Now on online, a person in Borivali can join any batch which is suitable to him in terms of time.
Yeah. So I think Vivek,
Not only a person in Mumbai, anywhere in India or even outside India.
great. So yeah, fine. Any more questions, or should we then sit? Any other questions anybody has? So
Okay, I think there are no more questions. So thank you
yes.
very much for all your time that you have given to me to listen to me, and I hope I could give you, broad insights into Brahma Vidya, because it's really difficult to say everything within 1 hour, and you can really know more about Brahma Vidya only when you join, because in fact, as you said, you have learned it, so you would know that only as you start learning from week after week, you will get better insights into it. But this was a broad overview I could give you in this 45-50 minutes.
Yeah. So really, I would like to thank you once again on behalf of this
Yeah.
group. And
Thank you.
personally, I had attended this almost 8-10 years ago, and I learned a lot of techniques in that time, including in how to take in more oxygen through the use of the throat, then development
Right.
techniques for using meditation and also breathing. So really,
Right.
I want people to experience it themselves if they can enroll in any of the courses available close by. So please do so. So, and thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Chandrakant, for taking a valuable time out for us.
Yes.
And really
Yes.
appreciate your effort that you have taken for all of us. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for giving your, sparing your time and inviting me and, listening to me. So thank you very much, all of you.
Yeah.
Thank you.